and welcome. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari calls for an emergency security meeting to further review and strengthen security network in the country, while Southeast governors set in motion a 24-hour joint patrol in major highways in the wake of increased security challenges in the region. Leaders of Pan-Yoruba group Afenifere endorsed presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, say he has the capacity to tackle Nigeria's major challenges. River State Governor Nyesom Wike dares PDP National Chairman Iyorchia Ayu to stop PDP candidates from contesting election. And death toll in a stampede in South Korea rises to 154, with at least 133 people injured in a popular nightlife area in Seoul to celebrate Halloween. We begin with security. President Muhammadu Buhari will on Monday meet with security chiefs in the nation's capital, Abuja, to further review and strengthen security network in the country. A statement by the presidential spokesman, Garba Shehu, explains that the president, who was initially scheduled to commission the new Technology and Innovation Complex by the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, will receive briefs from the security chiefs and interject on areas that need more attention. While the president's call for emergency security meeting comes in the wake of warnings by the United States and the United Kingdom embassies in Nigeria over the possibility of terror attacks in the Federal Capital Territory. Governors from the Southeast region have agreed to set up a 24-hour joint patrol in all major highways within the region to tackle the issue of insecurity. This is one of the decisions reached at the end of the group's meeting today in Enugu. Now, the governors of Abia, Ebonyi and Enugu were present at the meeting, while the deputy governors of Anambra and Imo represented their governors at the meeting. The chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, Dave Umahi, who spoke to journalists after the meeting, says the governors decried the impact of insecurity on economic activities in the region. Other issues that came up for discussion include the flooding and how to find a solution to the face-off between the federal government and the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu.
The major reason for our meeting is the issue of security within the region. As the Southeast governors decried the state of insecurity in the region, you're all aware that our economic activities have come to a halt, while kidnapping and wanton killing have become the order of the day. Southeast governors therefore call on the federal government to come to the aid of the people of Southeast in beefing up security in the zone, bearing in mind that elections are also around the corner and there is heightened activities within this period. Meanwhile, we deliberated on the best way to help our people and also restore their confidence to go about their businesses. And we all agreed definitely and totally to start a joint security patrol in all our major highways in Southeast. And this will commence before December 1st. On the issue of flooding, we commend the states and the federal government on their efforts to alleviate the sufferings of the victims of the recent flood menace in the country. We hope, however, that while the immediate solution is being given by the federal government, we hope that long-term solution will be discussed, because that is what is most desirable, knowing well that this has become an annual thing, and with the climate change, nobody knows what the next year will be like. So this will be a common project to show synergy and show sympathy, to all our brothers and sisters who have suffered so much as a result of this unfortunate situation. We also plead with the federal government to please initiate action in the dredging of rivers in the southeast to ameliorate the destruction of houses, farmlands, and properties. Southeast governors, as noted, the purported statement that it was the Southeast governors that formed ESN. Everyone knows that what we formed is a Bubago and the forest guards. Finally, Southeast governors are watching with keen interest the development with respect to the case of Nnamdi Kanu vis-a-vis the court rulings. However, we believe that a political solution is still very much possible in this circumstance. And so we ask the federal government that we are disposed as a people for political solution in this regard.
Meanwhile, the former secretary to the government of Enugu State, Mr. Dan Shere, and others who were kidnapped on Thursday, October the 17th, have regained freedom from their abductors. Mr. Shere and some travelers were kidnapped on their way to Enugu along the Nsukka-Opi Highway. The Nsukka Highway has in the last 1 month become notorious for kidnapping, despite the presence of army and police checkpoints. Staying with security, 2 women and their 3 children are now in captivity after terrorists kidnapped them following an attack on Dajin Mare community of Dandume local government area in Katsina state. Although police authorities are yet to confirm the incident, an eyewitness told Channels Television that the terrorists invaded the community this morning around 1 a.m., where they spent about 30 minutes before the security officers eventually arrived to repel the attack. The latest incident comes barely 2 days after police in the state rescued some 21 kidnapped victims, including 15 women and 6 children in Dotsinma local government area of the state. We're still talking security. A former governor of Bauchi State, Isa Yuguda, has challenged state governors on the need to bear more responsibility than President Muhammadu Buhari for the current state of security in the country. Alhaji Yuguda, also a Minister of Aviation, told Channels Television's Ladia Keredulwale on our Current Affairs program Newsnight that the argument that state governors do not control security agencies within their states does not hold water, and that they must be far more proactive than they have been so far in tackling threats to peace and safety of lives and property.
From our own experience, like I said, the primary responsibility when you go to take the oath of office, with the Bible or the Quran in your hand, you say to the Almighty God. That's the only covenant between you and God, and that is government, even giving the provision of the Constitution. The primary responsibility of government is about the protection of life and property. But for those that had the problem starting in their place, I'm sorry, it is their own responsibility. President will not approve a CFO for you to build a house in any of the states of the Federation. It is the governors that do. And if the governor approves the CSO of a state of your house, you don't expect that Buhari should come and build a fence for a house or to provide security men to secure you in Bauchi or in Lagos or in Calabar. Because let us face realities. And if a government will dedicate the entire resources and budget, if the governor feels very strongly that, because the value of one life, you cannot give me the value of one life. But you can give the value of bridges that governors are building, roads they are building, buildings they are building. So if you can dedicate your budget to ensure that everybody sleeps in his house and you don't have any other amount of money to build roads and bridges and what have you, then you go to the president and tell him, Mr. President, I have secured my state. Everybody sleeps with his eyes closed in my state. Business is going on. I have created an enabling environment for businesses to come and operate. So I don't have money. Will you please support me with 20, 30 billion so that I can build roads? The president will do that, for goodness sake. So the bottom line is that let us understand our job. You don't expect to go and spend your money in something else and to turn to Buhari. When you have security challenges, you say it is his own fault. I don't buy that.
For the full interview with Alhaji Isa Yuguda, former Bauchi State Governor and Minister of State for Aviation, do watch Newsnight. That's tomorrow, Monday, October the 31st at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. The pan-Yoruba socio-political group, the Afenifere, has endorsed the presidential ambition of the All Progressives Congress, the presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The group made its position known after the APC flag bearer visited the residence of its leader, Pa Ruben Fashoranti, in Akure, Ondo State, earlier today. The APC candidate, however, used the occasion to shed more light on his emergence as the APC presidential flag bearer during the party's presidential primaries in Abuja. According to him, he was in doubt and confused at some point during the exercise. He, however, said President Muhammadu Buhari's neutrality and the roles played by some northern governors led by the Kaduna and Kano state governors, Nasir El-Rufai and Abdullahi Ganduje, led to his emergence. The APC flag bearer said the North proved to him that Nigeria can survive its unity.
First, a hearty reception for the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his entourage. The candidate is on a mission to get the blessing of the pan-Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere. Hence the visit to the residence of the 96-year-old Ruben Fashoranti, the leader of the group. Before the commencement of the event, the candidate gets his wish at the residence of Pa Fashoranti in his living room in Akure. They proceeded to the main event where the newly elected governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Yebanji, Yoruba elders, Chief Olufalaye, Chief Bisi Akande, General Alani Akinrinade, and others were present. The group wants the candidate to look into the pending issue of restructuring.
If you look very carefully, and I know you should have known this, even those who are opposing restructuring are already asking for it, crying for it, or trying to implement it. Restructuring is very cardinal in this country. So, we would like you to remember this very well. Not only restructuring, but security. You know what is happening in the country? Insecurity, killing, murder, all sorts of things happen. We are convinced that by the introduction of state police, this will be reduced or cut.
The APC candidate speaks on his vision for Nigeria, promising not to take the people's support for granted.
We will change the course of history by the grace of God. Governance is tempting and complex, but I promise Nigeria that we will turn this ship around by the grace of God. This is a copy of our agenda. We can't put everything in it. Your prayer that I got inside before I got outside here may not be enough, but keep on praying. And please, keep the promise. You will attend the inauguration.
Some members of the group, including Payo Adebanjo and the Secretary General of the association, Chief Shola Ibisheni, who have thrown their weight behind the Labour Party candidate, were visibly absent at the meeting.
In part two, after the break, River State Governor Nyesom Wike dares PDP National Chairman Iyorchia Ayu to stop PDP candidates from contesting election. And a new professional body of lawyers, Law Society of Nigeria, emerges. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television Live. A reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari calls for an emergency security meeting to further review and strengthen the security network in the country, while Southeast governors set in motion a 24-hour joint patrol in major highways in the wake of increased security challenges in the region. Leaders of Pan-Yoruba group Afenifere endorsed presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, says he has the capacity to tackle Nigeria's major challenges. River State Governor Nyesom Wike dares PDP National Chairman Iyorchia Ayu to stop PDP candidates from contesting election. And death toll in a stampede in South Korea rises to 154, even as hundreds plunge into a river after a bridge collapse in India. Staying with politics, River State Governor Nyesom Wike is daring the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Iyorchia Ayu, to stop any candidate of the party from contesting an election if he thinks he has the powers to do so. Governor Wike was speaking at a media briefing at his residence in Port Harcourt while reacting to recent comments by Senator Ayu that he has the power to stop any candidate, particularly from Benue State, following the attacks on his person. Governor Wike views the statements as a further damage to the image of the PDP, which he says should be gaining the trust and confidence of the public to rescue Nigeria.
Nobody has said Ayu should be sacked. The word sacking and the one keeping to a promise are two different things. I heard when he said he would have stopped Autumn from running. You see how ungrateful human beings are. This was the same his governor Autumn, who pleaded with us and said, listen, I can take this risk and let him become the national chairman without being greedy. Like, remember the governor that no national chairman should come from where a governor comes from. We agreed on that. But Autumn came, and as a man with respect, he said, listen, I want to promote my people. Let them be at the national politics. And we said, okay, your honor will agree. This is a man who never campaigned anywhere. This is a man who never bought from, he never bought a poster. Even though the money they gave him to print posters, he never printed any poster. Now I can even tell you if you wanted to stop the man who brought him, who granted for him, who became his grantor. He can say, he now says, if I wanted to stop him. That's the corruption we're talking about. He has now come into office. He has seen money. He has seen power. Now he can open his mouth to say if he wanted to stop Autumn, he would have. But we dare him, and he said he can also stop any contestant. Look at.
As political parties crisscross the country to woo voters, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking presidential candidates to demonstrate leadership by regularly publishing the sources of their campaign funding. In an open letter to the candidates, SERAP says it is worried over the vulnerability of political parties to corruption, including a possibility by large donors to seek specific outcomes or preferential treatment which can subvert public interest. The rights group believes that transparency would aid to control inappropriate influence on political candidates, ensure fairness, equality and accountability in the country's democracy. It further explains that openness in campaign funding will improve public trust in Nigeria's politicians and political parties and show commitment to prevent and combat corruption if elected. A new professional association of lawyers called to the Nigerian bar has been established called Law Society of Nigeria, LSN. Its promoters say it was founded and registered as a national organization of lawyers admitted to practice law in Nigeria. A copy of its certificate of registration shows that the association was registered as far back as December 1994. A statement issued on Sunday by the National Publicity Secretary of LSN, Mr. Douglas Obankwa, it describes the association as a new sheriff in town. Mr. Obankwa says legal practitioners in Nigeria had been regulated solely under the umbrella of the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA), founded way back in 1933, but the LSN emerged in a bid to redefine the ideas of the founding fathers of the legal profession. According to him, this is in keeping with international best practices, which allow for an alternative to ensure that lawyers thrive within the realm of those they have shared values with. The Law Society of Nigeria promises to up the ante in matters that have been ignored in the legal profession, a prominent of which are premium on members' welfare and an open and transparent system in choosing leaders of the legal profession at the national level. The group has a senior advocate of Nigeria, Kunle Ogumba, as its president, and Honorable Nimi Wilson-Jack as its vice president, and Abdul Kadir Sani, Alhaji Sani, as its secretary. President Muhammadu Buhari has voiced his support for the decision of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, to launch new designs and replace high-value Naira notes. According to a statement by his presidential spokesman, Garba Shehu, the president spoke in a Hausa radio interview with journalists Halilu Getso and Kamaldeen Shawai, which will be aired on Wednesday. The statement also quotes the president as saying, "The nation will gain a lot by the initiative, especially its impact on illicit monies." A part of the statement reads, Buhari said reasons given to him by the CBN convinced him that the economy stood to benefit from reduction in inflation, currency counterfeiting, and the excess cash in circulation. He said he did not consider the period of 3 months for the change to the new notes as being short. But the president added that people with illicit money buried under the soil will have a challenge with this, but workers, businesses with legitimate incomes will face no difficulties at all. Stakeholders in Yobe State have expressed concern over the increase in the number of out-of-school children in northern Nigeria, especially among girls, as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency. Well, they believe that attacks on government institutions has forced many schools to remain shut, including Government Science Technical College in Dapchi, where over 100 students were abducted back in 2018, causing early marriage among the school dropouts.
At the onset of the Boko Haram insurgency, several infrastructure, including schools, were the main targets. This has seriously affected girl-child enrollment in schools across the state.
The reality is that the insurgency has really done worse. It has made the situation worse because it affects schools, most schools in the rural areas and neighboring town, and parents who are struggling to enroll girl child because of the effect of the insurgency has also become discouraged. So they will rather prefer, supporting and taking the male child to elsewhere where they can learn skill or be educated, and just keep the girl child around them for waiting for the period of transition to, adolescence, and marry them off. So this has been the scenario we have at hand. So the reality is that it has affected them.
At a children parliament organized by civil society organization Save the Children Nigeria, the students are asking for urgent intervention by the government.
With crisis, the educational environment becomes tense and unsafe for the children to go to school, and even more worse for girls and children with disability. The learning environment is no longer favorable and for effective and sound teaching and learning to take place, as this affects their understandings and even access to schools.
I am calling on the government to employ more cleaners and build more toilets to avoid the spread of diseases. There should be a conducive environment for effective living and learning to take place.
Save the Children Nigeria has been working tirelessly with the government to ensure that the dignity of every child is protected.
We have been working to build household and community resilience to recurrent shocks, while supporting displaced households with training, inputs, and other services to restore their livelihoods and businesses.
As the parliamentary session ends, the students are optimistic that the collective efforts by government and individuals in restoring total peace will ensure that the lost glory of education in the region is restored.
Still ahead on the news at 10, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, arrests a village head in Sokoto and 10 others over illicit drugs. Do join us again. Welcome back. The Kaduna state government has commenced the training of 2,000 new teachers who were recruited for the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning project aimed at upscaling access to girl-child education in the state. Now declaring the training program open for the teachers, the Deputy Governor of the state, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, says the present administration of Governor Nasir El-Rufai is committed to improving the quality of teachers through training and retraining of the teachers.
Improving the quality of education in Kaduna State and providing access to learning for children of school age are some of the cardinal programs which the administration of Governor Nasir El-Rufai embarked on shortly after it came to power in 2015. This it has done by first allocating the largest chunk of the state's yearly budget for education, with many schools renovated and new ones built in order to provide a conducive environment for learning. As part of efforts to ensure equal opportunities for girl-child education, the state government recruited another set of 2,000 teachers under the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. Ahead of their deployment, the State Ministry of Education organized a week-long training and induction program for them in collaboration with the Kaduna State Teachers Service Board.
We hope that with this program, our girl child in Kaduna State, in the Northwest, and in Nigeria in general will be able to acquire critical life skills, and then they can enroll, stay, and also complete school.
At the end of the training declared open by the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, the newly recruited teachers will be posted to 155 secondary schools, mainly in rural areas, where access to girl-child education still remains a major issue.
All the girl child needs is opportunity. An opportunity that affords her the platform to achieve her full potential and thereby rising to be anything she wants to be, either here in Nigeria or outside the country.
As teachers, you need to be aware with some of the processes, especially in terms of class management, managing the teachers, relating with the environment, relating with the parents of the students.
The training of the new teachers is under the Agile project, which is a World Bank-supported program designed by the Ministry of Education to address constraints the girl child faces in accessing and completing basic education.
From Kaduna, let's head to Adamawa State, where Governor Umar Fintiri has reiterated his commitment to deliver projects that have a direct impact on the lives of the people. The governor gave this assurance when he embarked on the flagging off and commissioning of road projects in some communities of the state.
It is the flag off of the 3.6-kilometer Lakare-Bole Road in Yola South local government area, the 2.42-kilometer Mubi South Road, and the commissioning of a newly constructed 2.5-kilometer Vunoklang to Jabore Road in Jure local government area of Adamawa State. As residents turn up in their numbers to witness the occasion, the governor is accompanied by his deputy governor, Crowther Seth, and other government officials. The Commissioner for Works gives an insight on the project, as benefiting community leaders express delight over the development.
Cost implication is within, I think, 1.9 billion naira. This is so because there are so many line drains, there are so many fallout drains, there are so many box and ring culverts that we have to construct because of the difficult terrain this particular road is sitting on, and we have a delivery period of 12 months, inshallah.
The road is linked with about 2 local governments thereafter. That is, we have Fukore and Jada, where they will come with their foodstuff from that place. You cannot be able to get a vehicle that will cross from that place to this place during rainy season, only by foot. So therefore, with this development, I think we are very happy, and we will never forget this gift.
The high points of the three events are the flag off of the 2 roads and the commissioning of the Jabore Vunoklang Road in Jure local government area of the state, where Governor Umar Fintiri assures the people of a modern infrastructure-driven Adamawa state.
At the beginning of this administration, we promise that our government will work for all, no matter your race, creed, or gender. We remain committed to this cause, and this has been stated that we extend and expand the reach of growth and development across the state. I'm a strong believer in a comprehensive approach to infrastructure development, knowing fully that an investment in infrastructure must be accompanied by policy, institutional and human resource improvement to ensure expected outcomes.
The Adamawa state government believes that these road projects reaffirm Governor Umar Fintiri's desire to ensure all citizens of the state enjoy proper access roads as they carry out their daily activities.
About 12,000 small business owners in Bauchi State have been supported to grow their business with cash and items from the state government. Governor Bala Mohammed says this is the foundation of economic intervention initiatives that will stimulate the economy and uplift lives. His remarks comes as he concludes the Kaura Economic Empowerment Program in Bauchi local government area after he toured across 20 local government areas of the state. Our correspondent Hajar Aliyu tells us more.
It is the concluding lap of the Qatar Economic Empowerment Program, which was first launched in June 2021. Governor Mohammed calls it a life-changing intervention, which was initiated to eradicate poverty and support the less privileged in Bauchi State. Since its commencement, more than 10,000 people have been empowered, with over 2 billion naira expenses. The roundoff in Bauchi local government area sees 2,000 beneficiaries going home with several items. People like Karima, a widow, owns a grinding machine once again. Yazid, a graduate of the School of Agric Bauchi, gets cash support for his fish farming. The list continues to grow as the likes of Bintu, a tailor, receives additional sewing machine, and Ibrahim collects a motorcycle. Their countenance sums up their emotions as they state how this will improve their business and well-being.
Da na yi kamar na bari karfi ya kare da ba dan abubuwan yanzu kuma sai kaura ya she in tashi a saye yanzu kuma sai na tashi a saye yanzu kuma dan kama aiki na insha Allah
An tallafa mun da kuɗi ne, kuɗi wanda yana kimanin naira 50,000. Ina tsammanin wannan 50,000 na inda juya ta a harkar kifi na za ta iya dawo mun naira 500,000. Dalili na shine duk lokacin da na ɗauki kifi guda ɗaya idan na yi hatching ɗinta, akalla zan iya samun more than 20,000 fingerlings.
Governor Bala Muhammad appears fulfilled with the outing and wishes to do more.
I would like to assure the good people of both states that our administration will continue to do everything possible within available resources to uplift their socio-economic well-being. We will continue to deploy our managerial competence to do much for the people with the little resources at our disposal. We will also ensure that the majority of the people of the state benefit from various poverty alleviation programs.
Either starting a new business or improving an existing one, the aim of the program is to ensure a multiplier effect that will bring value to the economy and impact lives. Hajira Aliyu, Channels Television News.
And now to the arts. No Pain, No Gain is the title of a group exhibition at the Vivid Exclusive Art Gallery in Lagos. The idea is to encourage young creatives to keep churning out amazing images despite the economic challenges in the country. We see it in Art Review tonight.
No pain, no gain is a popular adage to spur people to chase their dreams despite the bumps and bruises on the road, as success doesn't come easy.
Well, it's a group exhibition of the 15 amazing contemporary Nigerian artists who have been constant in their studio practice. Some of them are very young and some are old. They've been practicing for years, and it gives me a privilege to be among them.
That's the topic 15 artists explore at the Vivid Exclusive Art Gallery in Lagos. The show is a mix of creatives. Some of the artists take time to describe how they've depicted this theme in their pieces and the inspiration.
The work behind me is titled Morning Stretch. It's that, you know, whenever you wake up, there's how we Nigerians used to stretch our body. It sets the tone of our day. If we don't stretch, it will feel as if we are not, the day has not started. And this other one here is titled Waiting. It is that moment when you have done all work, you have worked, you have labored, you have paid the price. You just have to wait and see what will happen.
This sculptural piece here is titled Arewa. You know, it's something that I coined from the word no pain, no gain. You know, when you're talking about Arewa, so Arewa means someone that is beautiful, someone gorgeous. So, yeah, someone gorgeous. So when you're talking about no pain, no gain, before she could arrive here, she has an early stage of her life.
The theme for the exhibition is inspired by people's courage to make it in life against all odds.
The Lagos State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Service have intercepted 36 Cameroon internationals in Ibeju-Lekki area of Lagos. The irregular migrants were allegedly ferried into the country through the waters. Speaking with Channels Television, the State Controller of Immigration, Mani Bagiwa, explains that arrangements are on for the victims to be repatriated back to their country.
The Lagos State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Service apprehended 36 Cameroonian nationals
who were irregular migrants on the 23rd of October 2022. The tip-off about these migrants who reside in Ibejileki resulted from the community's collaboration with security agencies. The command, having concluded its preliminary investigation to ascertain their status, has been able to substantiate its suspicion that they are victims of trafficking in persons. The command has also been able to ascertain that they came into the country through the Ekwam border, Cross River State, in separate batches. They have, however, all stayed well beyond the 90 days of visa abolition period that is granted to Cameroonians and a host of other nations with which Nigeria signed the visa abolition agreement with. The whereabouts of the traffickers cannot be ascertained as at this time. However, the International Convention governing the management of trafficked persons demands that countries should ensure that their respective immigration laws prevent trafficked persons from being prosecuted, detained, or punished for all the illegality of their entry. To this end, we are under obligation to facilitate their swift repatriation to their country of origin, where they will continue their rehabilitation and reintegration processes. We have gotten across to the embassy, will be taken to the border in Cross Rivers, and will be handed over to the immigration officers of Cameroon.
More to come on the news at 10. A death toll in South Korea's stampede rises to 154, even as hundreds plunge into a river after a bridge collapse in India. Well, that's on the foreign scene. Do join us again. Welcome back. 154 people have died in a crash, or in a stampede rather, in South Korea's capital Seoul, with 133 others injured. Now, the government says the jam of people developed as huge crowds gathered in a popular nightlife area for the Halloween.
On the streets of South Korea's Seoul on Sunday, October the 30th, residents lay flowers and search for missing loved ones after a Halloween stampede killed at least 154 people in a packed nightlife area. A huge crowd celebrating in the popular Itaewon district surged into an alley on Saturday night. Emergency officials say death toll could rise. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol visited the site of the stampede after declaring a period of national mourning on Sunday. He expressed condolences to the victims, most of whom were in their 20s. It was the first Halloween event in Seoul in 3 years to be virtually free of COVID-19 restrictions and social distancing.
Coming in, this is like the middle of Itaewon. So
there were so many people, and I had to turn around, and I told the crowd, you can't come this way. People are dying, because I already knew how bad it was, and people were being so rude. And I had to tell them, you cannot come this way. And it took so long for emergency services to arrive.
And I had to turn around, and I told the crowd, you can't come this way.
Community centers have become makeshift facilities for missing persons as family and friends desperately sought word of loved ones. As of midday, the Interior Ministry said at least 90% of the victims have been identified, with delays affecting some foreign nationals and teenagers who did not yet have identification cards.
Meanwhile,
Pope Francis on Sunday prayed for the victims of the deadly crowd surge in Seoul's Itaewon district and for the victims of Somalia's capital, Mogadishu blast.
Let us also pray to the risen Lord for those, especially young people, who died tonight in Seoul from the tragic consequences of a sudden crush crowd.
Pope Francis, speaking to pilgrims and tourists in St. Peter's Square for his weekly blessing, also prayed for victims of car bombs.
A state minister says over 40 people were killed when a footbridge in the Indian state of Gujarat collapsed today, plunging hundreds of people into a river. More than 400 people were on the suspension bridge over the Maku River in the town of Morbi at the time of the collapse, according to local TV channel Z News. Footage showed dozens of people clinging onto the cables and twisted remains of the collapsed bridge as emergency teams struggled to rescue them. Some clambered up them to try to make their, or some climbed up them to try to make their way to the riverbanks, while others swam to safety. The 230-meter historic bridge was built during the British rule in the 19th century. It had been closed for renovation for 6 months and was then reopened for the public last week. At least 100 persons have died from twin-car bomb explosions in Somalia. The incident, which occurred at a busy junction in the capital Mogadishu, also resulted in at least 300 people injured, and the president, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, has asked for international medical aid. While the president blamed the Al-Shabaab militant group for Saturday's attack, which targeted the education ministry, a pro-jihadist website says the militants have claimed responsibility, which is yet to be verified. Time now for some sports news. Defending champion Spain beat Colombia by a 1-0 to retain this year's Under-17 FIFA Women's World Cup at the DY Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai earlier today in India. A late own goal by Ana Guzman was the difference between the two sides as Spain became the first country to defend the title successfully. Earlier, Nigeria's Under-17 girls, the Flamingos, won their first ever FIFA World Cup bronze medal after a 3-2 penalty shootout victory over Germany, following a dramatic 3-3 draw in Mumbai. A substitute, Blessing Sunday, and Edidiong Etim, and player of the match, Okpeyemi Ajakaye, scored from the spot for Nigeria. A defender, Tuminino Additional, missed, but it did not matter as Paulina Bartz missed the crucial kick for the Germans. Marcus Rashford's 100th goal for Manchester United proved to be enough for Eric Ten Hag's side at Old Trafford as they moved up to 5th in the English Premier League with a narrow 1-0 win over West Ham United earlier today. Reiss Nelson was the unlikely hero as Arsenal retook top spot in the Premier League with a 5-0 thrashing of Nottingham Forest. And Nelson was introduced for the first time in the Premier League this season after Bukayo Saka was forced off with a concerning injury for England boss Gareth Southgate just weeks ahead of the World Cup. Saka set up the opening goal for Gabriel Martinelli after just 5 minutes before being replaced due to an ankle injury. Nelson struck his first Premier League goal since July 2020, early in the second half, to give the Gunners some breathing space. He then added a second just 3 minutes later. Qatar has opened the International Consular Services Center ahead of the FIFA World Cup in what they say is a first-of-its-kind center to help fans get in touch with their respective embassies during the tournament. Now, the CEO of the Qatar 2022, Nasser Al Khattah, who was present at the opening event, says the center is not meant as an embassy replacement, but more of help to ease communication for fans present in Qatar. It also will help direct fans to the right government agencies if needed. Qatar is expecting an unprecedented 1.2 million visitors during the November the 20th to December the 18th tournament.
International Consular Services Center is the first time a center of this kind has been established in the World Cup, and we want to make sure that all the support that the fans may need, they would find in a central location like this. This is right in the same building as the main ticketing center, as the main Haya card service center. So the fans, for them, it's central, it's close to the public transportation links, the metro, the public buses, it's very close to the Corniche, it's very close to the FIFA Fan Fest. So a lot of fans will find it very easy and accessible to come here in case they need to get in touch with their embassies.
And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for an emergency security meeting to further review and strengthen security network in the country. The meeting, which holds tomorrow in the nation's capital, will be attended by the nation's security chiefs. President Muhammadu Buhari, who recently returned from South Korea, has sent his condolence to the government of South Korea. Also, The death toll in Saturday's stampede in South Korea have risen to 154, even as a bridge collapsed in India, leaving hundreds plunging into a river. Well, that's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night and stay safe.